Have you ever been left wondering why certain relationships feel so draining? Maybe it's a parent who makes everything about them, a partner who can't handle criticism without getting defensive, or even moments when your own reactions surprise you, like getting really upset over something seemingly small. If you've ever experienced this confusion and frustration, you're not alone. I've definitely been there myself. And what if I told you there's a common thread that connects all of these challenging dynamics? The thread is emotional immaturity. And recognizing this, it might be the missing piece for you to transform all your relationships and reclaim your inner peace. Here's what at stakes. Without recognizing emotional immaturity, you may spend years or even decades repeating the same emotional patterns, wondering why your relationship never seemed to improve. You might continue blaming yourself for other people's reactions, exhausting yourself trying to manage everyone else's emotions, or missing out on the deep, authentic connections you deserve. And here's what people don't realize. Emotional immaturity isn't just about childish behavior. It's a specific set of patterns that develop when emotional growth was stunted, or I call it arrested development. And these patterns can show up in anyone, regardless of age, success, or intelligence, and it shows up in ourselves too. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to spot these patterns so you can finally understand what's really happening in your most challenging relationships. Before we dive into the specific signs, let's clarify what emotional maturity is. Emotional maturity is the ability to these 5 things. Recognize and take responsibility for your own emotions. Regulate your feelings without suppressing them or exploding. Respond to challenges thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Consider other people's perspectives and needs outside of your own. And to adapt to change and navigate uncertainty. Emotional immaturity, on the other hand, happens when these skills don't fully develop, often because of early childhood experiences where emotions weren't properly modeled, validated, or taught. The most important thing to understand is that emotional immaturity isn't a character flaw or moral failing. It's a developmental gap trying to build a house without the stable, proper foundation. And this gap creates very real pain, both for the emotionally immature person and everyone who's in their orbit. As someone who's worked with over 100 clients and students, and also me myself, being raised and navigating relationships with emotionally immature parents, I've identified 7 clear signs to recognize emotional immaturity in people. I've actually simplified it. There are 17 signs I highlight in my workbook, but we'll just stick with these 7 to just keep it simple and keep it clear. The first sign, difficulty handling criticism and feedback. Faced with even gentle feedback, emotionally immature people tend to get defensive, make excuses, play the victim, or counterattack. They fail to separate their actions from their identity, so criticism and feedback feels like a personal attack. Second sign, poor emotional regulation. Watch out for dramatic emotional reactions that seems out of proportion to the situation at hand, like explosive anger over minor inconveniences or prolonged sulking when they don't get their way. There's often a 0 to 100 quality in their emotional reactions. Third sign, self-centeredness during conversations. Notice how they engage in conversations. Do they always bring topics back to themselves? Do they interrupt, dismiss, or seem uninterested when other people are speaking? Can they genuinely celebrate other people's successes without making it about themselves? Fourth sign, this is a big one. They can't take responsibility. Emotionally immature people often blame external circumstances or other people for their problems and for their mistakes. There's always a reason why. It's not their fault. And apologies, if they happen at all, are always conditional or followed by but. Fifth sign, and that is black and white thinking. Look out for rigid, all or nothing perspectives. People are either completely good or completely bad. Ideas are either perfect or worthless. This inflexibility makes it hard for them to integrate complexity and navigate nuances in relationships. The sixth sign, difficulty with boundaries. They either have weak boundaries, letting other people walk all over them, or very rigid black and white ones. They might struggle to respect other people's boundaries and take it personally when other people say no to them. Okay, the seventh sign, emotional manipulation. Watch out for tactics like silent treatment, playing the victim, guilt tripping, and using other people's insecurities against them. These behaviors reflects an inability to communicate needs, feelings, desires clearly and healthily. I really want to emphasize this here. Recognizing someone's emotional immaturity isn't about judging or labeling them. It's about understanding the dynamics so you can respond more wisely and protect your emotional well-being. Now comes the most challenging part, looking inwardly. Because the truth is, all of us have areas of emotional immaturity. I certainly do. These patterns often emerge when we're stressed, triggered, or in situations that remind us of childhood wounds. Here are 4 questions to help you identify patterns of emotional immaturity. First question, when do I become disproportionately upset, angry, scared? Pay close attention to situations where it triggers emotions out of proportion to the situation at hand, because these emotional hotspots usually points back to unhealed childhood wounds from the past. Second question, what criticism or feedback is it hard for you to receive? We all have certain types of feedback that feels especially threatening. Maybe it's being called selfish, lazy, or annoying. These sensitive areas often connect to core fears about your worthiness. Third question, in what situations do you find yourself getting defensive? Notice when you start explaining, justifying, or deflecting instead of listening, learning, and considering. Defensiveness is often a protection against shame. Fourth question, how do you handle disappointment? Do you blame others? Withdraw? Ruminate? Your response to things not going your way says a lot about your emotional maturity. I'll share a personal example. I'd become intensely defensive if a friend, a resident, questioned my clinical decision. I'd launch into lengthy justifications instead of pausing, learning, and listening. This repeating pattern came from an old childhood fear of being not good enough, and I had to recognize this pattern before I could make changes to it. Remember, noticing these patterns in yourself isn't a reason for shame. It's actually a sign of growing emotional awareness, yay! Which is the first step to greater emotional maturity. Okay, now that you recognize emotional immaturity, what can you do about it? I want to share with you a 3-step approach that works, whether you're navigating your own patterns or navigating relationships with others. Step 1, creating awareness without judgment. The first step is simply noticing patterns with curiosity rather than criticism. For yourself, this might look like, interesting. I notice I'm getting defensive when my partner brings up doing household chores. Awareness in others. Interesting. I notice my mother brings the conversation back to herself whenever she's feeling insecure. Step 2. Respond rather than react. When you notice emotional immaturity in yourself or others, pause before you respond. For your own patterns, this might mean taking a deep breath or saying to yourself, I need a moment before I respond. With others, it might look like calmly setting a boundary. Hey, I understand you're upset right now, and I'm not going to continue this conversation with raised voices. Step 3. Focus on what you can control and let go and stop trying to control what you can't. You can't force others to develop emotional maturity. That's their journey. You can't force them to buy my workbook. You can't force them to go through it, even if you bought it for them. But you can set clear and compassionate boundaries. Adjust your expectations to match their current capabilities. Develop your own emotional regulation skills. Expand your toolbox of tools to regulate your nervous system. And build a support network of emotionally mature people. Imagine what your new life could look like as you grow in emotional maturity. You'll respond to situations responsively rather than impulsively and reactively. Your relationships will become more authentic and fulfilling. You'll feel a sense of inner stability even when things are uncertain and challenging. And you'll break intergenerational patterns of emotional immaturity. Where are my cycle breakers at? With greater emotional maturity, as you're dealing with emotionally immature people in your life, you'll experience less exhaustion, drainage, and frustration when navigating their behaviors. Take their actions less personally. Set much needed healthy boundaries without the guilt. Make clear decisions, the roles that these relationships should play in your life. This transformation, of course, doesn't happen overnight, but with every step forward, it creates a powerful ripple effects, a butterfly effect, affecting every area, every relationship in your life. Recognizing emotional immaturity, both in yourself and others, is truly a superpower. It helps you recognize behaviors that in the past seemed confusing or hurtful, and it gives you a clear path forward instead of being stuck in familiar old patterns. If this video has resonated with you, let me know below. Which of the 7 signs do you resonate with the most, that you have navigated the most, either in other people or in yourself? And please share your experiences. And for you, if you're ready to go deeper into healing the roots of emotional immaturity, check out my Inner Journey course, where I guide you through my 4-step butterfly transformation method, healing your inner child, and creating greater emotional maturity. Click the link in the description to find out more. And don't forget to subscribe. There are videos every Monday and Thursday on inner child healing, emotional growth, and experiencing authentic relationships. And to subscribe can help me a lot to get this valuable information out there. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for learning with me, and I'm so freaking proud of you.